Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of Tough Talks. Today we have Magda Reynolds, who is going to talk to us about anger management. Thank you, Magda, for joining us today. Before we begin, Magda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your qualifications and just give a bit of background for our viewers?
Thank you so much, Regan. So my name is Magda Reynolds. I've been with NICRO for 11 years and I am an HPCSA registered counsellor.
Oh, thank you. What is HPSA? Just unpack that one for our viewers.
The HPCSA is the Health Professions Council of South Africa. So all the mental health professionals like registered counsellors, psychometrists, psychologists, psychiatrists, we are all registered with the board to ensure that we get our continuous developing points, which means we have certain trainings we need to complete every year and that we are compliant to certain ethics and professional standards.
Oh, thank you. All right, we've chosen anger management as today's topic, and the reason is we feel it's very relevant for a lot of people in today's world. So we're going to start off the conversation about, Magda, why do you think it is that so many people are experiencing so much anger at the moment?
So it feels like when you look around today, everybody is just angry about something. They're either angry on the roads, you see angry people in your offices, you see just almost, it seems like you see anger everywhere you look. And there's quite a few reasons that this could be happening. So the economic pressures, obviously globally, there's economic crises. So there's rising cost of living, the job insecurity, food insecurity. There's a lot of things going on there in terms of just economic and financial pressure. Then social media, as great of a tool as it does give people the opportunity to really engage in behaviors that you might not see somebody do with another person face to face. And then it obviously gives all of us access to read that and to absorb it. And the more you see that type of thing, the more it attunes you to noticing it. So that is also why you might be noticing it more in your day-to-day life. Just the political landscape globally, not just in South Africa, but absolutely globally. All the wars we're seeing, everything that is happening on that is also a great thing that contributes to anger with the news reporting on that. And the keyboard warriors then going in the comment sections, and we're also seeing the anger being unleashed there. Just absolutely the rise of fake news and AI generated things, and then the algorithms that tap in and make you see the type of things that you may have clicked on also feeds into, what you are exposed to. And a big one, I think, is also COVID.
Mm.
So we are now sitting in the post-pandemic world, but those 3 years really impacted on the world. It changed how we do things. A lot of it was onboarded online. A lot of things changed. A lot of people lost a lot in terms of loved ones, jobs. We had to just reorientate very quickly to a whole new normal. And then everybody was expected to go back as usual. And that just didn't happen. And with everything being brought online and the rise of social media, and how great all these tools are, yes, but it also breaks up that human connection, and especially for the young people that we see, they are more attuned with tablets and phones than they are to people and having conversations in real life. So I think those are some of the things that feed into what we're seeing at this point.
Okay. So would you agree with the statement that people are more angry? Are you seeing more anger or angry people in your clients that you're seeing over the past, let's say, 5 or 10 years? Do you think that that's coming through more and more? Or is it because we're just noticing what we're more sensitive to?
I think it's a combination of both, that people are both more angry, but that we are also noticing it more. And I think a big part of that is very much the lack of good coping skills and really where to voice this anger. So people are voicing this anger in places where other people can see it, and it's filtering down to everyone. And now everyone has been pulled into kind of this anger bubble. and feeding each other's anger. So, like, for example, you drive to work, you are sort of in a good mood, but then somebody cuts you off in traffic, there's a road rage incident, you get to the office, now you're angry. Now your colleague gets it for just being something that you would have laughed off previously that you now engage in an argument in. So I think there's a lot of knock-on effect and then a lack of good coping skills. So rather than stopping and maybe taking a breath or having a cup of coffee before you then engage with your colleagues, you rush straight into just unleashing that anger and getting rid of that feeling that you're sitting with.
Okay. Can you unpack anger as an emotion? What is behind that? What is involved in anger? Is it a complex emotion or is it a pretty simple emotion? What's your take on that?
So anger is not it's not a primary emotion. So often what lies beneath anger is that you were hurt, and it's easier now to express anger than feel the hurt or then fear. Shame or guilt is a big one that, let's say your manager speaks to you about something that you may not have been performing at work. And now instead of the shame or guilt, which is not great feelings to sit with, you're immediately angry because anger is something we sort of know how to deal with and we know how to process, and we've seen enough people be angry that it's familiar. So it's a bit safer than sitting with shame or guilt. Sadness. If you're really sad about something, then or deeply disappointed, then anger can often come off that as well. And then frustration, so when you feel powerless or when there's a sense that you are not in control or something is beyond your control, that then leads to anger. But anger itself is not necessarily a negative emotion.
Okay.
We have all these connotations to anger being something negative. But the negativity comes from how you deal with that anger and how you react on it. So if anger is reacted to in a positive and conducive manner, then it can be a very positive emotion that can be used to really carry conversations and have real moments of connection with other people.
So can you unpack a bit more about healthy versus unhealthy anger? So unhealthy anger, I think, is pretty straightforward. It would be that which causes arguments, it disrupts relationships, it gets you into trouble. You might commit an act of violence or do something that you're going to be held accountable for. What would be examples of anger expressed in a healthy way?
So arguments doesn't necessarily need to be negative, because if you have a constructive argument where you don't attack somebody else's character, where you don't say things to hurt them to win the argument, where you are arguing on the actual topic that you are upset about, to say, listen, what you did made me angry, and it made me angry because I was hurt by this and this and this that I understood you communicating. What were you trying to communicate? Is that the reality? So then in that, you are telling another person what you heard them say, which could be news for them because that might not have been the intention with what they have said it. If that is the intention with which they have said it, it gives you the opportunity to then set boundaries and say, listen, you cannot communicate with me in this way. We either need to find a better way of communication, or I'm going to, walk away from the situation or this relationship, however it may be. But we need to have certain measures in place for good communication. Disagreements and arguments can be very healthy because they can really be vehicles for people to realize how other people interpret what they're saying. It's an opportunity for you to set down healthy boundaries and things in place that can really help communication and can help you feel less frustrated or helpless or in control, so that those feelings of anger don't overwhelm you. The moment something becomes a personal attack, or you are absolutely just, that you are now going to hurt the other person, but you're doing it because you want to win, or then physical violence, those type of things, that would then be very unhealthy anger, or just walking around with the anger inside you and then resorting to something like drinking or substance use in order to cope with all the anger you're walking around with but not expressing.
Okay. So basically, anger, let's say, is more neutral. It's what you do when you are angry that can be positive or negative and produce different outcomes.
Yes.
So an example of positively expressed anger would be to have a discussion with a person that you're angry about, maybe not right then when emotions are high, but at a later point, and have it be more solutions focused or problem solving focused rather than just expressing your anger so that you feel better. But nothing has actually been accomplished after that. You still need to go and talk to this person now, but it might be more difficult to do that because now you've said and done things that have damaged that relationship. So what advice would you give to someone who is just feeling angry all the time and frustrated? And like, practically, what can a person do on a small changes that they might be able to make on a day-to-day basis that, when taken together, might improve their emotional well-being?
Well, first of all, a good thing would be to maybe just take a moment and really go over what are the things that make you angry, and then try to figure out why those things are making you angry. Is it that they are making you feel frustrated, out of control, powerless? Are they hurting you? Are they making you sad? What is it that is causing these feelings of anger? And then what could you potentially do to address those? Is it a conversation that you could have? Is it situations that you can avoid? If it's something that you can do absolutely nothing about, how would you then go about coping with that? Are you able to maybe take walks? Are you maybe able to have discussions with somebody in your life about it? Are you able to reach out to counselors or anything that's available in your area, to maybe speak through and have that space for yourself to just share your frustrations and your hurt with another person that they can also help you through in terms of that? What are the things you enjoy doing that you could do then to alleviate some of those feelings? Would you be able to paint or draw? When people think of coping skills for anger, we often go to the meditation and something like but that is not necessarily the case because that doesn't work for everybody. So you could be a person who gets that frustration out by actually going for boxing classes, because then it's in a contained environment, it's a sport, it's good for you. You could be a person who enjoys going for hikes on the mountain. You could be a person who enjoys walking by the beach, listening to music. You have to find something that works for you. It doesn't need to be what the mainstream media or mainstream psychology has informed. It is very personal because all your feelings you experience is personal to you. Nobody else experiences the things the way you experience them and why you experience them. So obviously then coping skills needs to be personalized as well.
Oh, thank you very much for that. So we've got about 2 minutes left of our session for today. Are there any takeaways, advice that you would like to give people who are struggling with anger at the moment, in terms of there's our blooper for today's session. Any closing words? Any closing words from you, Magda, before you wrap up today's session?
I would say really just with life being so crazy, find some time in there to just take a breath. Even if it's, with your morning cup of coffee, even if it's with your commute home, just find some time, even if it is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that you just have for you, where you can take a breath, pause, explore what is happening for you. Don't just try to block out all of the negative feelings, really sit with them and see what lies behind them so that you can then go from there and see what you could potentially do to start feeling better, because it's not great walking around with all those feelings all the time. You have to set them down at some point. Otherwise, they're going to come out in ways you don't want them to.
Yeah, and that's where NICRO comes in, where we end up dealing with people who have, engaged in road rage, or they've gotten into a physical fight with someone. So what we're hoping to do with a talk like this is to engage with people in a more preventative way, so that you can just gain some information rather than doing nothing. And then one day it all just gets a bit much for you and you then find yourself in conflict with the law.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Magda, for your time. So this is our first edition of TAF Talks. We focused on anger management, and that's just the 15-minute alarm going off. And I think in a later session, we will do a deeper dive into, let's say, the AAA approach of anger management. And also, I think talking about the anger map would be useful because it visualizes the choice that you have in the moment. So we'll do that one in another session. Thank you very much. I hope this was useful to you, and we're going to stop recording now.